All right. All right. Welcome. Welcome. A lot of technical difficulties this morning. Anyways, so what I'm going to talk to you about today is the sixth habit that I laid out, and that is the habit of creating a tribe or the habit of creating a team. We're going to talk about both of these together. Now, I'm talking in regards to having a successful podcast and influence and all those different things. Okay. So if you feel like that you're talking into the void, it's because you haven't amassed or gathered people or built something that is tribe worthy that people feel that their identity is attached to. So what you're going to benefit from this episode is that I'm going to show you how to begin to create a tribe worthy podcast so you can engage with people, connect, and so they can feel a sense of participation inside of the movement that you are trying to create. Okay. Now, many of us are familiar with Simon Sinek. Now, he is pioneered some of the coaching stuff that we still use to this day. And he's absolutely very influential on what it is that I'm going to talk about today. And that is creating a tribe around your brand, or creating a mass amount of people that are using your lingo. And that's exactly what has taken place today with Simon, even though a lot of us who are younger may not know who he is. The impact and the ripple effect of his tribe and his lingo is going to live on for multiple generations. All right. So he's there. He's on paper, everything in his life looks fine. He's running meetings. He's talking to teams. He's checking every single box. But in the morning, he doesn't want to go to work. That's the dilemma. Puts on his jacket. He walks out the door. And he hates that he can't explain why he is feeling this way. So all the turmoil that's happening in his side of his life, it's not external in the form of competitors or markets or whatever. It's internal. It's the pressure that he feels to sound smart, to give tips, to have people clap, and the pressure to be liked, right? All of these different things. So he tries the normal fixes, and that is new projects, new clients, new plans, new goals, and nothing really sticks. He still feels empty. And then he runs into this kind of one simple idea, and it hits him really, really hard. And the premise behind it is that people don't follow what you do. They follow why you do it. And that idea just hits home with him. He begins to plant his flag with that statement. He looks down at his legal pad. He says he's going to stop chasing attention. He's going to decide to build culture instead. So he writes down this one line, and we all know it today, is to start with why. And he starts sketching these little circles, and it has why in the center of it, and then how around it, and what on the outside of it. It's simple, it's clean, people can easily understand it. Not long after that, he goes on a TED Talk in 2009, and people just eat this stuff up, all right? And he was able to build momentum and a tribe out of something that is absolutely simple, all right? So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, is how can we create something that is tribe worthy? How can our lingo be something so simple and so good that people can latch onto it and they can grasp the concept and the idea? And let me tell you, it doesn't even have to be as great as that. And personally, like as great as that is, I still don't think that, not to say anything about Simon Sinek, but from my personal opinion, I think we have to start with who. But it doesn't matter like whether the thing is that good or not. The thing is it really catchy? Does it have a premise and a structure behind it? And people latch onto it? Not if it's 100% capital T truth. All right. can we get something sticky enough that it can create momentum and create a tribe around it? All right. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. Now, what is a tribe actually? Now, a tribe is a sense of shared identity. And what that looks like is that we are the kind of people who, so in the case of Simon Sinek, we are the kind of people who start with why. Now, I put, inside of my group, I'm constantly talking about identity and who. And so the culture that you're going to get inside of my group has to do with being established in who you are and your identity, and your why probably comes a little bit later down. So I'd be more like kind of the start with who kind of guy. But if you go inside of my group, that's the stuff that you're going to hear. You're going to hear about getting solid inside of your identity, about who you are and who you want to become, who your future self is. You're going to find a lot of who talk. And you're going to find a sense of shared identity around that. And that is, there's a lot of people commenting and engaging in these questions that have to do with identity. So the first part of a tribe is a shared identity. This is something that connects to who I am as a person. The next thing is a shared mission. And that is kind of, we're here to. What are we here to do? Now, this is the reason why anything that is in the podcast lane that has something that is tribe worthy, this is the reason why that they're able to gain influence and build a community, because they hit on these key things. And you could tell something about a podcast, whether it is outward focused to the people and building an identity, or whether it's inward focused to the company. Now, even if your company is starting a podcast, it still should be outward focus on building identity and a sense of mission out there. All right. A shared practice. And that is what do we often do? Now, you'll notice like inside of the gym culture, and that those who have built a brand centered around gym culture, that they have a shared identity, they're gym rats. They have a shared mission. They're there to take care of their health and look as best as possible. They have a shared practice. They all go to the gym. All right. Can you see how that they were able to create a major brand identity and movement because of these shared things? The next is the shared space, and that is a place where they gather. You'll notice that a lot of these podcasters who have conferences and events, like that is their shared space. Or they'll have virtual masterminds where they meet together. This is a shared space. All right. And so they literally check all of these boxes because they are building a tribe. So what I want you to do is to get out of building a podcast, because that's not really what you're accomplishing in the end. Because what you're actually looking to do is to build influence, community, and impact, which actually is connected to a tribe. You are trying to build a tribe of loyal followers that have a shared identity, shared mission, a shared practice, a shared space. All right. And then what you'll notice inside of these also is kind of a ladder. And that is an ascension model inside of there. So they have those on the outside who are just interested. And that is, they're kind of just dabbling with the content. You have those who are more committed. Then you'll have those who are inside of the mastermind. And what you'll notice is kind of an ascension model of commitment. This is building a tribe. All right. So that's kind of step one, understanding that. Step two is choose your flag. What is it, a core belief that you are going to unite around? Now, a tribe forms around a point of view, and that is a belief system that they have adopted. This is the reason why spiritual communities are so effective, right? Because what are they? They're tribes. Now, I would like to just point out that we have a natural inclination to be tribal. Now, that in itself is not a bad thing. Now, it can become bad but we're all kind of inclined to be tribal. Now, as we begin to grow and mature, we are able to lay down our weapons and reach across the aisle and understand that we are from a tribe, but we're not going to let that tribalism cause us a lot of pain inside of life. And we're not going to allow us to hate another person who is a part of another tribe. And that's what maturity looks like in it. But we don't throw away the tribalism because that is naturally inclined. Even those who claim that they are tribeless, there is a tribe of tribeless people. The tribeless people are a tribe. It doesn't matter. When it comes to political things, I'm not this side or that side. I'm more this. Yeah, they have a tribe for that too. Well, I'm not really this, that, the other thing. I'm more this. Yep, there's a tribe for that. There is no escaping tribalism. All right. And so the best thing that we could do is begin to utilize it and not be swept away by it, the detrimental side of it. All right. But inside of a tribe, you're always going to find a core belief system that people hold to. I'm of the tribe of the responsibility culture. If you've ever noticed, we're a tribe. All right. We are the people talking about personal efficacy and responsibility and to begin to craft the future that you want. The world's your oyster. Begin to take responsibility. God has endowed you with a sense of gifts and talents, and it is your responsibility to flesh those things out. I'm in the responsibility tribe. And that is opposed to those who are not taking responsibility for their lives. So whether we want to believe it or not, we are in a tribe. And so you have to understand the point of view that you are talking from so you can effectively speak the language of the tribe that you embody. Because whether you know it or not, you are embodying a camp, a tribe. All right. And that is a tribe has a belief and a tribe has an enemy belief. Now, I mentioned that the responsibility tribe, well, obviously they have an enemy belief, and that is victimhood. All right. So the enemy belief is somehow that we are not personally responsible, or we don't have personal efficacy, or we don't have choice in the matter, or it's meticulous determinism, or all these different things that are being propagated out there that create a culture of victims. Right. So we have an enemy belief inside of our tribe, and we have beliefs that we are living from. Now, it would benefit greatly for you to understand that you have a life philosophy. You have a life philosophy, and of course, that life philosophy should produce success. If it doesn't, might need to take a look at its beneficialness, right? So we're all operating from a life philosophy. And your job with your show is to promote those ideas. I'm under the impression that your ideas are worth promoting, okay? That you're on the side of freedom and good and responsibility and empowerment, but those are the ideas that you have to understand what it is so you can speak more effectively on those so you can begin to be tribe worthy. All right. Now, step number 3 is to create a simple membership community. Shared action, that we are the community that does what? Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever it is, right? This is the reason why the 12-week year was so effective. If you're not familiar with the 12-week year, what they did, it's a coaching model. And what they did was strategize and lay out what life looks like in daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly fashion and kind of break it all down. All right. And it's absolutely amazing system and process. And it created a shared action and a shared community as we're the kind of people that can do in 90 days what most people get done in a year. And they were able to create this culture and everything around it. Now, this is repackaged and rebranded to all kinds of different things, but there are so many communities using the 12-week year and they don't even recognize it. It's because it became such a ingrained culture, all right? Because we had shared practices, because we're on this mission and we're doing something together. There's nothing that creates tribe more than people bonding because they're doing something together. I know it sounds like simple, but that's just the reality, especially with men. And that is, if you want to create a tribe around men, have them do something together. Now, this is the reason why they have these masculine events, right? I've been to all kinds of them, right? I've participated on the other side of them, where men come out and they get their butt beat for a couple days, and they do all of these different obstacles and all these different things, and it's very manly and all these different things. And because they have an experience together and they're doing something together, and they create bonds together that is not easily broken, right? Something that is tribe worthy. 4 is make sure that you're building your gathering place. And I'm going to talk right here a little bit about the pros and cons of the different locations and stuff, because I've been around for a little bit and I've kind of seen everything that comes and goes. And I want you to spend your time and focus on the things that are going to kind of stay and remain. Number 1, right at this time, is always going to be Facebook. That is because you don't have to fight for attention. The people are already logging in every single day and they're already there. The only thing that you have to do is to begin to gather their attention. That's it. So Facebook is the absolute easiest to build a tribe around. So the way this looks like is you've launched a podcast and you've got it focused on building a tribe and a community around that. You're going to want to name your Facebook group the same name as your podcast. There's not going to be any missing link. There's not going to be something else that people have to remember or to do. They're going to know that this podcast right here that is outside has a community and it's named the same thing. It's easy flow. Okay. I wouldn't recommend naming it something different. It's very confusing. We are tempted to name our communities and different things, all of these fancy words and inner lingo that nobody knows. Don't do any of that. Just name it what your show is called, because that's where your momentum is coming. That's where your tribe building influence is coming from. All right. Facebook groups are the way. Now, I've tried different things in the past, and every new community that came out in the beginning, I've tried. And then some of them I've had initial success until their algorithm tweaks or the emails that they can't send out anymore, or whatever it is that begins to tweak inside of these communities begin to shift, and something begins to happen and everything begins to die off. And so from experience, I don't want you to waste your time on a lot of outside communities. And here's 2 reasons why. First reason is you have to pull all of their attention from another location. And that's usually in the form of another app on their phone. And we need another app on our phone like we need a hole in the head. And that is, we just don't need it. And we just don't want it. So if you are trying to pull attention from one of the biggest companies inside of the world, you're going to have a very difficult time doing that. And that is that there's people already on this platform. They already have their attention. And you're going to be a source that tries to pull their attention away from this and pull them over to that. Good luck. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that's not a battle that I want to fight. That's because I've won a couple rounds and it's very painful. It doesn't work. You're trying to compete with one of the biggest companies in the world for attention, and it doesn't work. People are used to going on to their app and all these different things. Your little notification on your app on their phone just doesn't carry the same weight. And so it's going to be very difficult to pull their eyes and attention over to your community. So the best thing is to show up where they are already located and to begin to integrate with that. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't capture emails and do all of these other things that are really, really important, because you do want to own your tribe and you do want to have access to your tribe. If ever these communities are no longer effective, you want to have some sense of stability with your tribe. But the pulling away of attention is very, very difficult. All right. The second reason why is that I briefly mentioned it, that these communities start out with massive engagement, and they do initially because they're able to send mass notifications out. The same reason why Facebook was successful at the beginning is that they were able to send these emails out in mass notification. The community gets to a point where it's too big, where it can't send those mass notifications out anymore. You imagine like Facebook sending a notification like every time somebody likes something. Absolutely ridiculous. They used to do that. And you used to get a notification for every single thing inside of your feed. You got a notification for everything. Now, every once in a while, like daily, you'll get one single notification about one single action and stuff. But that's about it. So all of these communities, they start out with emails every single notification. And that is, people are constantly primed and triggered to come back to the app. Okay. That is always the initial phase of the launch and the startup. And it's the mass adoption or getting a sense of momentum to the people. And then it turns off. You're sitting there with a 2,000 to 5,000 people community, and then boop, it gets turned off. And it has to get turned off because of email and government regulations and all these different things. It has to get turned off at a certain quantity. All right. And so you went with a bandwagon effect and you had all of this momentum and it seems like it was working, and then it turns off. And then you're left there with a group that doesn't have any engagement that you spent a year building. Not a good feeling. Not a good feeling. All right. It's not something that I'm willing to try or experience again. That to say, if you are going to create a community, I would just do your own then. Like, don't rely on another platform. Just do it yourself so you could control the notifications and the emails that go out. CRM, like go high level. You can create your own community around that. You have access to everybody's email. Everything is within your hands. If you are going to go a community that is away from some of these big communities, do your own, because the other platforms are going to turn it off on you and you're going to be left just kind of stuck there, and it's not going to feel very good. Okay. All right. Give them a gathering place. Give them a language, a tribe language, and an identity. I believe in this one so much that this is what I do. So I'm not sharing with you something that I'm not practicing myself. I got this from Tom Bilyeu 9 years ago, whenever he started Impact Theory. And I was listening to his episodes religiously. And then he started giving his tribe a name. And it was correlated to the podcast. And I forget the name now because, I've been outside of the community for years and years and years. But it was something close to like Impactivists or Impactivators. And so his podcast was Impact Theory. And then he attached a name to his people. Now, the best tribes are going to attach a name to their people. You ever wonder why Wake Up Warriors is so effective? Identity, getting men to identify as a warrior, building a community around a hero motif, getting men to step into the identity of a warrior. All of these movements are identity shifting. And that is, they get you to something that you are to embody, and they present that as the thing, and that your shift is that you are becoming this thing by the community and the tribe, right? Warriors, impactivators. If you can get, and I know a lot of people can't get this, but if you can get the identity statement in the name itself, game over. And it's an identity that somebody wants to embody. Game over. Game over. Anything that attaches to identity is going to be significant. So, for example, some of the podcasts that I've had in the past, they're connected to identity, the men of influence. And that is that a man who wants to create influence, the tribe is, we are the men of influence. And so as attaching to identity, right now I kind of involved into the biblical man. And that is because I have two podcasts going at the same time. And I shifted to the one is going to be more business related. And so I didn't need the other brand to do that anymore. And so that kind of shifted to the majority of the people that I were reaching were Christian men. And I want to make sure that I can include all streams of orthodoxy. I'm not trying to cut off Catholics or Eastern Orthodox or evangelicals. Like, my goal is not to fight from that kind of heel. My goal is to unite. And so I landed on the biblical man. And there's going to be a lot of people that find identity and tribe in that statement. So my podcast is the biblical man, and my group is the biblical man, and that people can flow into those and feel a sense of identity because I've poked the identity. All right, get it. So create a community, and then after that is to create the journey. One of the worst things that we do inside of our spiritual communities is that our customer journey is not very good. Our customer journey in the faith department looks something like, repeat this prayer after me, say this prayer, and then after that, we're going to talk about church membership and baptism. And then maybe if you're a little bit farther along in innovation, people might get them plugged into a small group, right? So our customer journey looks something like that. And we literally stop the journey at somewhere about 3 months in. And that is, somebody can say the prayer, somebody can do the church membership, somebody can get baptized, and somebody can join a small group, all within 3 months. And so basically our journey for people that is mapped out. Now, there's probably a subconscious journey, but the journey that's mapped out is about 90 days worth of journey for people. And the sad reality is that we wonder why that we're not having an impact, or that people's lives are immature, or they don't seem like they're going anywhere. And the reality is that in churches all across America, they're not taking them anywhere. Their literal journey is about a 90-day journey, and they complete that and it looks something like, now what? Now what do I do? And so the churches that are most effective inside of transformation have it mapped out for a far longer period of time. In fact, the good ones map it out all the way to leadership and to effectiveness and to empowerment and sending people out. Those are the ones that are producing the most transformation, right? So how does this relate to your podcast? It relates to, well, what kind of journey is your tribe going on? I mean, you have decided that you are going to be a guide in somebody else's hero's journey. Where is it that they're going? And if they're utilizing your systems and processes, what does it look like? What is the customer journey? Where are you taking them? The path must be cleared in order to create the impact that you want. All right? I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about the effect of community, because there are certain fruit of community or side effects or consequences of community. And these could be both good and bad. I want to point that out first, because the principles that I'm about to tell you could be both beneficial and detrimental. It kind of depends upon the identity of the people and where they are going, what path that they're on. Now, the first one that comes to mind is bandwagon effect. And bandwagon effect is a bias, but it is also a motivating factor in people's lives. Bandwagon effect in a detrimental bias is that people assume because other people are doing it, that it is probably good and safe. That is the kind of logic fallacy behind it. That because there is a massive tribe around it, they think that it's good and safe, when it could not be. Let's just face it. Just because people are jumping on the train doesn't mean that the train is going somewhere good. But how this works in your favor, because I believe that you are an empowered person living to impact others in a very positive fashion, that your train is going somewhere good. So then on the flip side, then what that is going to create is enthusiasm. Is that if you get people on your bandwagon, that on your train, and other people see people get on your train, you're more likely to get more people on your train. You see what I'm saying? All right. So what is detrimental can also be positive. It only depends upon the person who is yielding the sword. The Bible is the same way. That thing can dash you to pieces. It can tear you up one side and down the other, or it can bring you life. It depends on whose hand is in. All right. So bandwagon effect. This comes into community and social proof. And that is On our side is because we have launched hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and we have clients right now currently, and there is this, people are getting on the train, and there are people that are utilizing us as a resource to take them what they want. This is all social proof. All right. The second thing is belonging and safety. And that is in the hierarchy of human needs, after the basic kind of bare necessities is handled, people want a sense of belonging, and they want to connect with other people and belong. In fact, a lot of the therapeutic services, a lot of the coaching services, a lot of the elite business masterminds and all these different things, they thrive because people are alone. And it sucks to walk this journey alone. It really does. For a business owner to grind day in and day out and not have connections and community and other people that have shared values and all those different things, it sucks, right? And so people want to be connected, they want to belong, and community does that. All right. Number 3 is that you get a positive kind of peer pressure. And this works, it works really well for me. I don't know if it works like this for a lot of people, but I don't want to be that guy. And you know the guy. If you've been inside of groups and masterminds, who never does what he says. I don't want to be that guy who is in constant pre-contemplation mode, talking about all the wonderful stuff that he's going to do in the future and never does actually nothing. You know the guy, right? And so there's something with community that builds in a positive peer pressure. Now, once again, peer pressure can be both detrimental and beneficial, but you building your community and a tribe full of people that produce positive peer pressure of the good kind. Now, this is using social dynamics in a positive manner. Whether we like it or not, there are going to be social dynamics. There is going to be a community that sets the standard whether we like it or not. And that is, you as your community and your group can set the standard. This is the whole reason why the responsibility tribe is so effective. The standard is responsibility. You're going to hear all kinds of talk that is centered around efficacy and personal responsibility. The culture is setting the standard. Around here, we show up. Around here, we tell the truth. Around here, we do the work, right? You wonder why do the work is so powerful? That all started in a very small community base of people that decided that they were going to be the kind of people that do the work. And here we are to this day, still hearing the slogan and the tagline, do the work. That happened from a tribe and a community that promoted that statement until it is integrated into entrepreneurship culture. Now everybody you hear say, you got to do the work, man. You got to do the work. I could go on and on about the different benefits, but time has failed me today. And so I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.